Good morning, everyone. My name is Juni Rajbandari. I see people are still joining, so I'm gonna just give maybe another minute for people to finish joining. Looks like the incoming participants is kind of stable. So good morning, everyone. My name is Juni Rajbandari. I'm the system owner for Medicaid Data Collection Tool, MDCT. As you know, today's demo is for the MCPAR report. The same demo will be offered twice, today and tomorrow evening. So if you're attending today, you don't really need to attend tomorrow, but if you want, you're free to attend. Both the meetings will be recorded and they'll be posted to medicaid.gov, including the transcript. Today we'll have a brief introduction by Alexis Gibson, the Deputy Director for the Division of Managed Care Policy. We'll have a demo of the MCPAR web form in MDCT by David Coger, the Application Product Manager. We have reserved the last 30 minutes of this meeting for a Q&A. So feel free to click on the Q&A icon towards the bottom of your screen and ask your questions. We will try to get to all the questions, but if there are questions that are unanswered, we'd like to get back to the folks that have unanswered questions. So please feel free to add your state abbreviation or your state name with your name so that we can get back to you. With that, I'll hand it over to Alexis for a brief introduction.
Hey, everybody. So I just wanted to welcome everybody on behalf of CMCS. Thank you for joining us today. This is going to hopefully be a successful and useful call for everyone. I see we've got a whole bunch of people in attendance. So David from Coforma is going to do a short demonstration of the MDCT web portal. And just a quick reminder, I'm sure you all know, but that is where the MCPAR is going to, that's where the MCPAR is going to be entered and kind of uploaded, and that's how we'll get a hold of the data. So thank you very much for joining us, and that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexis. All right, let me get my screen shared. Again, I'm David Coger. I'm the product manager here at Coforma for the MDCT application. Today, I'm going to be walking you all through the MCPAR application web form. If you visited the current MDCT managed care reporting portal over the last few months, we launched to live in June. This will look very familiar to you. One of the main differences is that now we will have an option to enter the MCPAR online. So previously we had given access to the various workbooks from Excel for both, or for all three reports really, MCPAR, MLR, and NAR. What the MCPAR Online web form will be allowing us to do is to have that data input from the workbook into a web form that will allow us to have easier access to all that data. So I'm going to go ahead and show when you land on the MCR portal page, you will want to enter into the MCPAR Online here. When a user enters into this space, they'll be greeted with kind of just a short introduction page. And what we're really using this page for is to highlight some of the navigational and feature-based functions that are in the MCPAR itself. So kind of giving you an overview of kind of where you would get started at, and I'll show you that on the dashboard going up. And then moving forward into kind of how on each of the pages we've put these wayfinders, and I'll cover that again as we get to those pages that kind of guide you as to where in the workbook itself these questions are located. So as you're entering them in, you kind of have that that ability to see where you need to go look inside the Excel itself. And then a brief overview of the submission process, which I'll cover in more detail, but just as a highlight here for the initial iteration of the MCPAR web form, submission is not a certifying process. So if you do submit and you need to make any corrections or you need to add anything that maybe it had gotten left off or forgotten, the report itself is still going to be accessible and you can still make those updates and resubmit it. All right, so as a user, once you get past this section, you'll enter into the MCPAR Online. And this will be your dashboard. So right now I have two programs kind of already started here, but just to show you how this would work if you were starting from scratch, you would add a managed care program. We're going to ask for a program name, reporting period, start dates and end dates. And then right here is where we'll be asking the question around if there's an exclusion of CHIP from the report itself. So in the Excel template, this is a question that's asked. This is how you would be able to answer that question within the web form. It's not a required field, so if it doesn't apply, you can just hit save. And you'll see that now we are going to be creating that report on the dashboard as well. This dashboard, as it's created right now, will allow for year-over-year reports to continue to show up. So, you know, just because this is the first year of doing this, you see where I have kind of these newer programs, but as we continue to add to them, these reports themselves will still be available to review and in the future export as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump in here. So if you're on the dashboard and say you accidentally misspelled a program name or you need to edit a due date or a program date, this little edit icon here will reopen that modal for you so that you can come in and make any changes that you need to. And those changes will reflect upon saving into the dashboard itself. So just a note there that if there's any changes that need to be made to the program information level regarding the report itself, you can hit this icon here. When you're ready to enter into the report, you'll go ahead and come over here, and I'm going to go ahead and use this Test Tuesday program name and enter into the report. And as you can see, there is some information that we're being able to pull in based on the login. So we do know which states are logging into the system. So we're able to populate which state is filing the report itself. Noting a couple of areas down here that are not accessible to you, but are going to be submitted on submission. We will be taking the submitter name and the submitter email address from the user who hits the submit button last. So if you come in and make edits and somebody else goes in and submits, that's the person's name that will appear here. And the date of report submission will also auto-populate as well. When I get through the entire demo, I'll kind of show you how that feeds through. But this is a really good example of just kind of how the parity between the Excel template and the web form itself exists. So all of the questions themselves are going to have the same letter and number abbreviation attached to them. So as you're looking through the Excel template and you're looking for a specific question, it's going to match exactly the way that we have it stated inside the web form itself. The other thing that is going on here is that you'll see that we have various types of components for you to enter that information in. So based on what the question is, you can put in exactly what you were able to put in the Excel template. And I'll kind of show that as we go through. But, you know, in this situation, obviously, it's a entry single line field for name, email address. You'll want to be able to have that done. But as you move farther along, you'll see that we have drop downs, multi checkbox selections, radio buttons, just depending on what the options were available in the Excel, we've made them exactly the same in the web form. One thing to note, right now in its current state, the web form itself will require you to save and continue before it saves the information on the page. So in this situation, I've entered information here. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and continue. You kind of see the loading icon, and it's going to pull me into the next part of the report. Another section that's pulling in data that we've already put in. So you see the program name and the reporting period, end date, and start date that I had entered on the previous screen. Additionally, you'll note that the program name is highlighted up here on the top as well. Just another wayfinder for you to be able to know which report you're in. And as we move through it, you'll see we get to plans. And one of the things I want to note here is plans and BSS entities are important for the farther down parts of the report. There's many sections that require this information. So if you're a user and you happen to have somehow skipped the plan section, and you move down here into plan level indicators and maybe select something, it's going to remind you that the program is missing plans. So you'll know that there's something that needs to be done to be able to enable this page to be completed. So in this circumstance, I would hit add plans. It's going to bring me back. I'll go ahead and add a couple. And again, noting that save and continue is necessary in this current iteration to save this information. So if I navigate away from this page and I do not hit save and continue, it will not retain the information that I just put in. We will be bringing in an autosave functionality in the next couple of months, but as of right now, it's really important that you hit save and continue when you get that information entered in there. So I'm gonna hit save and continue, and now you'll see as I had put those two plans in, now they're available in the plan level indicator section. BSS entities operate the same way. If I don't have anything in here and I go to BSS entities, it's going to tell me that I need to add one. It'll take me back. I can add one here, add a second one, hit save and continue. And now when I go to the BSS indicators, you see that it's pulled in that information for me. Now, one thing to note, because these fields are really important farther downstream, you can delete them if you potentially put one in incorrectly or you don't need to track one. We do highlight that if you delete this plan, you also remove any of the information that you've answered about it farther on down the line. So just kind of highlighting the level of impact that deleting a plan or a BSS entity may have farther on down the line in the reporting structure. So I'll go ahead and hit yes, delete plan. And what you'll see now is when I go to the pro plan level, we only have the one plan. So it is real time pulling that information down. As we move farther on down the form, I'm not going to cover every single page, but just noting that we have broken the report up exactly how it's broken up in the Excel template, still providing the wayfinder in case there is a question of which tab or section it's in the Excel template, still highlighting the correct nomenclature for the naming convention for the questions itself. But as you start moving farther down, you see the various types of components that we used. So from a single field entry to multiple choice, particularly like in this case, you can have multiple things here. But noting also that if you have an other option, you will then be shown a text box to kind of provide any additional context you may be have put into the Excel template as to why other is the specified section. And now what you'll notice is on a page level, there's going to be validation if questions are not answered. So if I hit save and continue, it's going to remind me that a response is required before I can save it. So I'm just going to put in some language there, hit save and continue, and you'll see that that information has been retained as I pass that page. Now, one other area that I wanted to point out is, for the most part, these pages are set up with component-based answers that match what is occurring in the Excel template. For a couple of areas, we had to utilize some drawer capabilities to be able to accommodate questions that had longer pieces of additional questions attached to them that would provide kind of like an overview. So one of those areas is in the appeals and grievances areas, access measures. So when you come down here, adding an access measure in this sense, there's going to be a two-step process that occurs here. It's still utilizing the same questions that are asked within the Excel template. So from this situation, I'm going to go ahead and add an access measure. I will answer 3 questions. And this will create an initial access measure for me to finalize. So as you can see here, we're highlighting that it's a red exclamation icon, noting that we still need to complete the remaining indicators for this access measure by entering details. And once you do that, you'll be shown the additional questions for that access measure. So I'm going to go ahead and answer these really quickly. Down here. And you'll see that when you've completed the entire access measure, you'll see a green check mark indicating that that particular access measure has been completed. We also highlight and show all of the answers that have been given. So that way you kind of have a quick and easy way to track what answers you had chosen for that specific access measure. Additionally, we keep an access measure total count available. And as you continue to add access measures, you will continue to see that count increase. And you can kind of see the difference here between a completed card and an incomplete card. Now, this particular formatting around a 2-step process occurs in 3 places. So the first part being access measures, the second part being quality measures. It's going to be a very similar step here. Add this in. And you'll see a similar situation where we're highlighting that the measure itself is not completed yet, that they need to enter the measure results. And what you'll see here is we're actually pulling in that plan name from the previous sections. So whatever plans you've already entered, as you're going through quality and performance measures, you'll see for that specific measure an option to provide the measure results for each plan. So if I had 3 plans, you would see 3 plans here. I'm just going to go ahead and drop that in. And you'll see that it highlights the plan name and the answer that I gave to it. This will happen for any quality and performance measure that you do in this section. Additionally, a count is shown. And then the last section that this occurs in is in sanctions. Similar situation. We're going to come in here. The drop down in this particular section pulls in that plan name. So if I had multiple plans, you would be able to select which plan you're going to be answering for. Provide reason for intervention. And you'll see again, highlighting that this particular sanction is not completed. Come over here. It's going to tell me the information related to that specific sanction and then ask me to answer the additional questions that were necessary to complete it. So that. Save and close. And you'll see that all that information is pulled in additionally to kind of give that high level overview of the entire answer within the card format. Now, for reviewing and submitting, I had mentioned previously that as you get to this point in the process and you've completed any of the questions, you can submit the MCPAR technically incomplete at this point. Now, the good thing about the submission process as it's currently set up is that your submission does not lock the form. So in this situation, I've come in, I feel like I'm ready to submit. I'm going to go ahead and submit the MCPAR. It's going to confirm for me. It does note that you will be able to make edits after submitting and resubmit. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And then it's going to give me a success page with the submission timestamp, exactly who actually completed that submission, and then kind of tells me that there's no further action needed at this point. CMS will reach out. Now, if I leave the form, you see that on this page, there's going to be a change in the status. So now it's showing this report is submitted. However, I can still enter that report. So if I come in and I go into this section and maybe I forgot a plan, test 3, save and continue. Obviously, there's other areas that I need to answer that question for, but if I leave the form again, you'll see that that status has changed to in progress. So it's no longer submitted, it's now in progress. There's still work to be done here. If I come back in, you'll note that I had mentioned earlier, the submitter name and date gets pulled in as I'm doing the submission process. So you see those are now apparent here, but I can come back here, submit the MCPAR again, get that same level of notification, leave the form, and see the status change to submitted as well. So just kind of really highlighting that in this current iteration, like the form itself will not lock on submission. You will be able to go back in and make changes if necessary, or if CMS reaches out and asks for additional information, there will be an opportunity for you to go in and make that change. In terms of saving, as I noted previously, just want to really highlight this. If you're in here, every page that you hit save and continue on will save the information that's on that page. So if I do this page and plans and I log out, the information that I've entered in this session will be saved as long as I've completed the page and hit save and continue. So I don't have to complete the entire report in one sitting. I can come back. Other people can be in at the same time as me and also be putting in information. Um, it could get a little hairy if you're on the exact same page, but if you're working in different sections of the report, really the last one out is the save, right? So if I hit save and continue and somebody else is working on BSS entity indicators and they hit save and continue, both of our information will be saved. It will not impact the other person entering information as well. And that's kind of it for right now. I've seen a couple of questions come in, so I know we want to make sure that we get those answered. So I'll go ahead and hand it back to Junie.
Yeah, I'm seeing a few questions in the Q&A. A few of them have been answered. The first question was from an anonymous attendee asking about a contact technical support. So right now, we don't really have a contact number for technical support. If you have any system issue, if you're having trouble making any entry, if there's any application issue, you can contact the mdct_help@cms.hhs.gov email that I added to the answer. If you have any policy questions or before answering something, if you need more clarification, you can contact the managed care TA at mathematica-mpr.com. I hope that answers the question.
And just wanted to note one other thing here too, Junie. Within the application itself, there is the Get Help page as well, which highlights those two specific contact points. This page will also host some information as we continue to see people use the product. And if there's a question that we see pretty consistently, there's an FAQ section that can exist here for us. And so we have the ability to add additional context to questions that we're seeing pretty frequently, either from the help desk or from the TA inbox. So this Get Help page will definitely be a place that will provide some additional answers as the application continues to roll out.
Yeah, thanks, David. The next question is from Regina. She's asking if manual entry is optional or if we can upload the workbook. So right now, we don't really have an option to upload the workbook. So it is manual entry. It's not optional.
Yeah, so this is Alexis. So we kind of talked about this for anyone who happened to attend the Managed Care Technical Assistance Group last week. So the hard part about this is that I know the Excel template has been out for a while. I think one of the thought processes internally about this particular question is that having the data entered into the web portal essentially puts it in a usable form. It makes it more manageable. And I think it'll allow CMS to kind of dig in and figure out what's useful and what's not useful faster. So that's the reason why we kind of headed in this direction as opposed to allowing for the upload of the Excel template.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, like the web form itself gives us a really good opportunity moving forward to have this information in a place where it can be accessed by the web form itself going forward, right? So having it entered once into the MCPAR web form does put it into a database that is accessible to us. So as we look for enhancements and improvements going forward, there's going to be more information every time a report's entered that we can potentially reuse and bring into additional reporting as we move forward.
The next question is from Mike Egan. He wanted to confirm if you can partially complete the form, or do you need to hit the submit button to save your work? So as long as you hit the save and continue or the continue button while you are filling up the form, you don't need to hit submit. But I think during the demo, David did cover that even if you hit submit, you can again go back and edit. I hope that answers your question. Next question is from Tashara Cannon. She's asking if, is this replacing the Medicaid managed care data collection system access tool that is sent each year?
I'm sorry, could you ask that again?
Is this the MDCT MCR portal replacing the Medicaid managed care data collection system, MMCDCS access tool?
So it is not. So they kind of have two different purposes. The MCPAR is the reporting requirement under 42 CFR 438.66E. And then the other one that you're talking about, I kind of refer to it as the managed care enrollment data when I'm thinking about it. That is more of just the factual background of the programs that a state runs. I do think that there is intention, and I think Adrienne was getting ready to jump in on this piece. She's welcome to correct me. I think there is intention to link the two so that there is auto-populating that occurs across the two reports, but I will defer to Adrienne on that piece.
Yeah, so this is Adrienne Delosier with CMCS. And so right now, as of today, it is just the required MCPAR report that is available in MDCT. In the relatively near future, we hope to have both the MLR report and the network adequacy and assurances report available in this tool as well. Further down the line, we do hope to get the database that you mentioned into this platform, but I think that that really is a little further down the line. However, when we do get there, Alexis is right. There is a hope that that some of the data that you now have to report in that other tool could auto-populate from some of the other reports and existing data. But that is going to take some time for us to build. And again, it is behind the other two reports as well. So unfortunately for right now, we're still going to have to deal with that database that you get every year.
So the next question is an anonymous one. Will the submission trigger a notification to CMS that the state's report has been submitted? So it's a multiple part question. So that's the first one. So when somebody submits this web form, will CMS be notified?
So yeah, I had put an answer to that too, but I can do it live as well. So currently there's not a notification that's sent when the form is submitted. However, it's something that we have under consideration as an enhancement.
Okay, I think that answers the remaining of the question, but this person also wanted to know if CMS, if and when CMS begins to review, will the states know that CMS is reviewing the data?
So I'm going to defer to Alexis or Adrienne on this one, but the portal itself does not indicate whether something is being reviewed yet or not. I'm not entirely sure what the plan is to communicate that.
Yeah, so so much like you guys are probably going to have a not particularly enjoyable December, I am probably not going to have a real great January because I'm probably going to be the one going in, taking a look. I'll be working with other parts of CMCS, DMCO, other people within DMCP to figure out what's there, potentially what's missing, and probably generating emails to individual state users, just asking questions if something is incomplete. I think there's also intention we have a contractor basically to help us kind of start pulling this data, taking a look at it along with other data sources like TMSIS and kind of sift through and figure out what is useful. So to answer your question, I will be, and other people within DMCP and DMCO will be absolutely reviewing this, looking in just in January and right after things are submitted. You may see emails from us asking questions. And then, I will say that if you've submitted it and you're concerned that maybe it hasn't gone through, you're always welcome to reach out. My email address is on here. The MCTA email address is usually available. Feel free to reach out and say, hey, we submitted it. Can you see it? Or anything along those lines, just to confirm it had gone through.
So along the same line, Alexis, there's a question of whether if the state representative is different from the actual submitter of the web form, will both be notified? I know you said you'll be reaching out to them. Would you be reaching out to both the state rep as well as the submitter?
So this is Adrienne, and I think what we'll need to, so there's a question below that I think I want to address and then circle back to this, which was about, can both state representatives and state users submit the report? And the answer to that question is yes. I want to talk a little bit about state reps versus state users. They both have the same access rights in the report. And so that means they can both edit, they can both submit, they can both add data and do data entry. The only thing different about a state representative is that they are your access manager at the state. And so you guys provide us a list of state reps so that we can approve their access to this system. And then the state reps are responsible for approving state user requests and also deleting users that should no longer have access and really being the access manager. The report itself, they both have exactly the same rights. We've had some questions about from states about how to, who's able to quote unquote approve a report so that it can be submitted. And the answer to that question is that functionality is not within the system. Any state user or state rep can submit. And so you will need to have an internal process by which your report is cleared by whoever needs to do so, who then gives permission to either a state rep or a state user to go ahead and submit the report. As far as who we will reach out to, in line a little bit with Alexis's answer before, I don't know that we have thought a whole lot about that. We will have the submitter name, but there are also ways where we can go in and pull who the state reps or state users are for that report. So we will have to, I think we're open to suggestions from you all about, if we have questions about the report, who is the best person to reach out to? Clearly the submitter, and possibly we could pull the state reps from the system for that state as well, if we have questions.
Thanks, Adrienne. The next question is about states that need to report data for multiple programs. Christina Quest is asking if there'll be separate MCPAR reports submitted for each program.
So yeah, yes, there will be a separate MCPAR for each program. So the example I always use is California. I know they have a 1915B and an 1115. The majority of their delivery systems now live in that 1915B, and they have a couple of different programs under that 1915B. They have mental health PIPs, they have comprehensive MCOs, and then they have SUD PIPs. So to that extent, I would expect to see at least three separate MCPARs. So one for the PIPs, one for the MCOs, and then one for the SUD PIPs, if that makes any sense. So for another state, I know Washington has a couple of 1932As. I think some of those operationalized managed care, I would expect to see MCPARs associated, with each program, even if there's more than one program under an authority. There's some definition about what we mean within the beginning of the the MCPAR reporting template, kind of explaining what we mean when we say program.
Thank you, Alexis. The next one is, would corrective action plans from an EQR be considered a sanction and should be added to the sanction form?
Yes.
The next one is managed care TA indicated that there would be a phone number. I know I answered that we don't have a dedicated phone line for this, but Adrian and Alexis, do you have a different answer to this?
I'm sorry, could you ask that question again?
So there was a question previously asking for a phone number for technical support, and I indicated we do have two email addresses, one for the system issues and one for policy questions. But I guess it's a follow-up question where they are saying that the managed care TA indicated that there would be a phone number. I wasn't aware of the phone number. I don't know if you guys are aware of it.
Yes, I was not aware of the phone number either. Maybe they just mean that there could be potentially a follow-up call if the email exchange doesn't result in solving the situation.
I think we are going to take this back to the managed care TA team as well, but yes, we are not aware of the phone number at this point. There is a question in regards to overlapping data entries being entered at the same time. I think David did answer a similar question where I think there was a question.
Yeah, I can.
David.
Yeah, essentially, there's two circumstances, and I had mentioned one of them in the demo. But like, if you're in two different parts of the form, you'll be fine. If two people are on the exact same page, entering the exact same information at the exact same time, the last person to hit save is going to save the information. If somebody navigates to a page that already has information on it, they would have to deliberately remove the information and replace it. So those are kind of the three circumstances that exist there from like a deterrent perspective, because of the way that things are saved in the form. Even if once we move to autosave, if somebody is doing the exact same page at the exact same time as somebody else and they're in the exact same fields, it will be last one out that gets the save. I hope that answers the question.
The next one is more a comment than question. I guess it's the follow-up of the MDCT technical assistance line. Apparently there was something communicated that you'll need to call the MDCT technical assistance line for submitting a report with missing data. As you mentioned before, we will reach out to the MDCT TA team to see if there is one. But at this point, we just have the email that we shared in the answered questions. The next one is about getting access. There's a general question of how do we get access? I cannot find anyone in our state that has received the information on requesting access. There were a few communication that went out, some targeted emails to states, as well as some mass emails that had the attachments to instructions on how to access the system. I'm not sure who this is from, but I can resend the access information PDFs at the end of this call to everybody in the invitee list. Next one is there a variance in the access level of users? For example, can anyone with access make changes and submit the form, or is the access tiered so that some can only review data, others can review and edit data, and select few can review and edit data and submit the form. I think Adrian explained in one of her answers that the privileges for both the state rep and the state user is exactly the same. Both the roles can make changes and submit the form and edit the data. It's just that the state rep is the access manager for that state. Next one is, will we need to re-enter all this information next year if we have the same plans and same programs?
I can take that one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can take that one. I think that that's like part of what we're exploring as potential enhancements, right? Knowing that we have the data entered already, trying to utilize, features within the application that maybe aren't there today, but would be valuable when we circle back around to the next time that particular program is being reported, are all things that we're considering as potential opportunities.
Thank you, David. Next one is from Mike Egan. Is there a NAR template within this page? Currently, the NAR template is not available in web form. So we don't have it in this page as a web form currently. I don't know if anyone would like to add anything to that. Okay, moving on. The next one is, when new users are approved by state representative, is the state user sent an email about the approval, or this is something the state representative must do? So in IDM, when a new user requests for a state user role and get approved by the state representative, I believe there's an email that is sent to the requester that their request has been approved. But I'll need to check that. Let me get back to you on that one. Can you demonstrate how to create and add a quality measure and how each of the elements are completed in the tool?
Sure. Let me pull it back up. So for quality measures, you'll come into the quality measures section. You're going to hit add a quality and performance measure. And we're going to ask a few questions up front to kind of build out that card. So again, mimicking the exact same questions that are being answered in the Excel template, you're just going to come in and replicate that out. So I'll select which measure domain, I'll select the measure name, put in an NQF number if there is one. Select the measure reporting, the measure set, and the reporting period, and then the measure description. And when I hit save on this, it's going to create a card for that specific quality measure, indicating that I still have a few questions to answer. So adding the plan level details. So as we noted before, when you enter plans at the beginning of the report, we pull that information down into different sections within the report itself. So I had two measures in this particular program. So when I enter measure results, it's going to bring in both of those two measures. So test 2 and test 23. I will add in the answer for that question. And when I hit save and close, you'll see the completion of the quality measure. So the initial part is setting up what that quality measure is. The second part is entering the results for each plan. And when those two steps are completed, you'll see a green check mark, and it indicates that that is a completed quality measure entry.
Thank you, David. The next one is there a copy paste feature that can be used for year-over-year submissions? Can we pull the data from the previous year instead of starting from scratch each year? I think we did go over this question kind of. Currently, there is no copy paste feature, but as David had explained before, having this report in a web format will help us make future enhancements for copying over data. But right now, we do not have that feature. The next one is, what is the deadline for states to update to MCPAR? I could answer part of it, and Alexis and Adrian, feel free to jump in. I think the deadline is based on the contract that they have, the contract period. I believe the first one is December for, I need to check.
Yep, December 27th.
Yeah.
We also have a
Contracts from July through June, those are due December 27th, but depending on your contract year and when your contract starts, that due date changes. So those dates are listed in the portal as well. And sorry, David, you were saying something.
No, I was going to say the same thing, that currently we do have them listed here as well for the upcoming year. One of the things too, when you enter into the MCPAR and you add a program, if you put in the reporting period, like say it's off of the standard ones that are listed, it will calculate the appropriate deadline, the due date, based on that calculation of 180 days.
Thank you, David. The next question is, to confirm the MCPAR portal replaces Excel when due, only the online submission is required, not the online submission and Excel. And that's right. MCPAR web form in the MDCT MCR portal is replacing the Excel, and you only need to submit the report in the web form and not the Excel. Will the entries from previous reporting period be saved and auto-filled for future submission? I think we did respond to this. Right now, we don't have that feature, but having this in the web form will help us make that enhancement in future. Our state rep has left. Who can I contact to update our state rep? I think you can contact the managed care TA email to let them know, and copy Adrian and Alexis and let them know that your state rep has left, and they can help you update the state rep. Even though I am the project manager for the submission and compilation of MCPAR for our state, I will not be submitting, will not have access to the form. Will I still be the one that CMS contacts with questions? Our team has determined our data analysis team will have the IDM access as they deal with the data entry for other reports as well, to keep the access request streamlined.
So I can highlight an area here. So in the report itself, the contact name can be anybody. It doesn't have to be the user that's entering the information, and that's what's going to be stored as the contact name. So as long as your information is listed under contact name for the Excel template, or if you let them know that that will be the contact name, once it's input here, that'll be the one that will be saved as the person for contact.
Yeah, even though you don't get access to MCR, the data analysis team that will be working on the web form, they can enter your name so that you get contacted. Our state will be beginning a new managed care contract in 2024 with our PAHP having only 6 months during the second half of 2023 until it gets rolled into the managed care program. Will there be a need to submit the 6 months of information, or can that be rolled into the new contract reporting? I guess it's a more policy question. Alexis or Adrian, do you have an answer to this?
Sorry, this is the one about the PAP for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I think we would expect, so it sounds like there's some details here that are a little bit confusing. So it sounds like the dental benefits are going to be rolled into a new program, or it might be helpful to take this question offline, send it to the managed care TA mailbox. We can figure out, all of the details and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I see that the question is from an anonymous attendee. So please email the managed care TA mailbox so that they can help you through getting a proper answer to your question, and maybe you can go back and forth with them to get more explanation. I think the person who said their state rep has left is from Utah. So if you want, you can contact the managed care TA team, or you can add your email address so that the team can contact you on finding a state rep for Utah. Please clarify how we submit a report if there is missing data. If we contact the MDCT via email, what kind of turnaround time can we expect? So if you have a report that is missing data, I would ask you to coordinate with the managed care TA team to see how to report that. If you have any system issue and you contact the MDCT_help email, usually the turnaround time is the same day for at least acknowledgement and that kind of stuff. Alexis and Adrian, do you have anything to add to missing data part?
Not right now. I mean, I think we expect some missing data. We know this is going to be a big lift. So we understand what's going on.
Thank you. When we do a role request, which is the correct role to select for submission of this report, so you can either choose a state rep role if you are one of the 1 to 3. Let me go back. So each state has 1 up to 3 state representative. So if you are one of those 1 to 3 state representative for your state, then you would request for the state rep role. And if you are a state user, which has same privilege as a state rep, but you can request for a state user role.
So I'm going to clarify just a little bit that the state, so CMS has to approve the state reps. And so if you are not on the list that your state provided us, we will not approve those state reps. And so everyone, state reps and state users, have the exact same roles as far as utilizing, entering data, reviewing the report, submitting the report. But only folks who have been designated as state reps should request the state rep role. because if you're not on the list given to CMS, it will be rejected. State reps have an added responsibility as far as they are the ones to approve state users for their states. And so if you are not designated as a state rep, but still need access to the report, you should request access as a state user. And then your state rep will either approve or decline your request.
Thank you, Adrian, for the additional clarification. When do we do a role request, which is correct role to select the submission of this report? So you make the role request even before you make, so you need that role to access the system, either a state rep or a state user. So you do it before you even access the system to fill up the web forms and submit it. Is there a way to communicate information on missing data with the report, such as notes section, perhaps? I don't remember if there's a note section within the web form where you can add information about missing data. David, do you remember?
I'm sorry, can you say that again for me?
There's a question about communicating information on missing data. So if a state is filling up the web form and they have missing data, is there a way, a note section perhaps in the web form where they can add that information for CMS to see?
There's not a note section. There are some built-in functionalities that the help desk is aware of to help guide users through the completion of a web form if there is missing information. So as you approach those areas, there are some questions that specifically state that NA can be added if the information is not available or not applicable. But if there is other areas, please reach out to the help desk and they'll be able to guide you through how to complete the form. The intention there, I think, and Alexis and Adrian can chime in on this as well, is that if there is information missing, CMS may reach back out once the form is submitted to get more context.
Thanks, David. There's a comment about there seems to be MCR. I don't know if they were trying to say that the application is MDCT MCR, and it is. When you go to request a role, if you want, you can type in more context to that question or comment. The next one is, can we find out whether a state rep has been designated for our state? So you can, if you don't know who your state rep is, feel free to contact the managed care TA email, and they can let you know who your state rep is. How does the state rep receive notification that a user needs to be approved? They can log into their IDM and see the list of approvals. Sorry, Adrian, go on.
They will get an email from IDM as someone who gets them daily for the state rep request. IDM will send an email that you have pending requests for approval.
Thanks, Adrian.
Yep.
Are state reps able to submit IDM request on behalf of users, or do the users need to submit them themselves? The user will need to make the request. The state reps cannot submit IDM request on behalf of the state users. I know we are almost at the top of the hour. I see there are some questions in the chat. Will CMS DMCO analysts have access to this portal in read-only permission? I believe they will.
Yes.
Can you please paste the portal link in the chat? I did that. It's https://mdctmcr.cms.gov. Looks like you can save and come back to this form and your information will be saved once you log out. Is this accurate? That's accurate. I think the next one was answered. Are we able to jump around within the submission form, or do we have to go in order?
You can jump as long as you're saving and continuing as you go.
I think we're at the end of the webinar. We talked about the timeline. There's one about what other data sources, if any, will the information in MCPAR be validated against?
This is Adrienne, and I would say that we are actively working on figuring that out ourselves. We are still working with a contractor who's going to help us. We are going to have a massive amount of data that we have not had in the past, and so we are working with a contractor to help us figure out which pieces of information can help us with our monitoring and oversight efforts in the best ways possible. And so I think part of that will be, as you said, comparing that against certain data sources. But to be honest, exactly what form that will take, we are still working on as well.
Thanks, Adrienne. There was a question about the submission of each program, and I think Adrienne had covered that before. There was a question about, can you show us how to review the report before submitting it? And can we print that? For the export or print part, that is a feature that is coming up shortly in very near future. But for the review of the report before submitting it, I don't know, David, if you want to quickly show how it's done.
Yeah, just being able to review the report that's already submitted.
Before submitting it.
Yeah. So as of right now, essentially what would happen is you would come in and go into the dashboard and select whichever report you're going to review. Until we get the full export functionality, you will have to go section by section. But you'll be able to do that with the completed section. So you'll see the information that's been input by the other users. Prior to the first deadline, however, we do anticipate having an export functionality that will exist on the review and submit page that will allow you to export all the answers that have been done in one PDF format.
Thank you, David. I know we are over, but I'll just take the last question. Will you make an FAQ document from all these questions and others that you may receive from these webinars and provide it to the attendees? So we will be making the webinars available in the medicaid.gov website, but I think overall we are discussing the possibility of FAQ within the portal itself. So we'll provide more information on that. So I think that concludes all the questions we had. Feel free to reach out to both the email addresses that we provided for any system issue, mdct_help@cms.hhs.gov, and for any policy questions or clarification on the web form, contact managed care TA at mathematicas-mpr.com. Also, if you have questions about your state rep, who they are, and if you don't have one, feel free to contact the managed care TA email as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We really appreciate your time. Have a good day.